Yeah, check out our styles. You know you're never fully dressed without a smile. Your clothes may be Chanel, Gucci, your shoes crocodile. Baby, you're never fully dressed without a smile. And if you stand for nothing, you'll fall further. We got all we need.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Heroic Review, the show where we, the cast of Heroic Tales, talk about episodes, fanfiction, and other ponylicious things. My name is Goombasa, and I will be your moderator today as we talk about Season 5, Episode 14, Rarity's Boutique. And today, joining me, we have a never-before-seen super delicious combo of ABagofVicodin.
Hello.
And Morgan Free Pony himself, Illya Leonov.
Hello, everyone.
So, kicking off with our initial impressions of the episode, what did we think? This was the first time we have had a sort of mini hiatus for the show. So, what do you guys think of this episode as a sort of lead into the second half of the season? Illya, if you want to kick us off?
Well, we did have a hiatus, and generally after that, I would expect a great thing to lead us off into the rest of the season. I think a lot of other people were expecting that. I don't really feel like we got that. I thought we got a relatively average episode, in my opinion.
Vicodin?
I disagree, actually. I wouldn't necessarily call it average. You know, it's not explosive or amazing, but insofar as just story structure and overall enjoyment for an episode for Rarity, who's usually a character who, her episodes are kind of okay. This one was definitely an improvement upon one episode in particular, Rarity Takes Manhattan, and I we'll go into more detail about why I felt it was just overall stronger. One of the reasons being that Amy Keating-Rogers is just an excellent writer.
And for my money, I will say that I found this episode very enjoyable the second time that I watched it. The first time that I watched it, I was sort of in the boat with Illya, because it was right after a hiatus, and those are usually adventure or action-based episodes, and this one was a more low-key, a very enjoyable slice-of-life episode, but it was definitely a lot slower than what we usually get, and I appreciated it a lot more, and enjoyed it a lot more on my second watch. So moving on from first impressions, I guess we'll start with the basic idea behind the episode. In this episode, it is revealed that Rarity has finally fulfilled one of her lifelong goals of getting her own boutique in Canterlot, and hires a new manager, Sassy Saddles, to sort of help the place run and get successful. But as things go on, she starts to realize that she's losing her passion for what she is doing, because she just has to keep making the same dress that is popular over and over again. So, any comments on the overall story of the episode?
The overall story is very strong, I feel, because I feel that A has been in the show for a while now. She pretty much gets how story structure would be, even if things would cut for any particular reason. But I only had one particular problem with the episode, which we can probably get into later, and it was concerning Rarity's desire to basically flare up the dress that she was commissioned for, the princess dress. And I'm sure that any type of artist who has done commission work can understand that, you know, what the customer wants is what they want. And it was also kind of a homage to the Art of the Dress episode, where, you know, all of the main six wanted dresses that were completely ugly, but Rarity just decided to, she kind of flipped that narrative, really.
Yeah, I'd just say, in defense of my earlier statement, where the episode didn't blow me away, that even though it wasn't thrilling to watch, it was a very important episode. Here is the episode where Rarity establishes an outpost outside of Ponyville. She broadens her horizons in a way that I don't believe any other of the main six have done, except becoming a princess. And so in that case, I think it was an extremely important episode, if not as fun as it might have been to me.
I would also like to point out that apart from Rarity, Rainbow Dash is also making a lot of headway towards her goals as well. But you do bring up a good point, and I would also like to point out that this episode brings to a head an idea that Lauren Faust talked about in several interviews back in seasons 1 and 2, where her eventual idea for Rarity was that she would eventually end up owning a shop in Canterlot. Now, obviously, this is a much different take on the idea than I'm sure what would have been in place if Lauren Faust was still on the show. But it is nice to see that her ideas are still being used in some capacity.
Well, I mean, it comes to Faust, I kind of disagree a little bit, just because the idea of Rarity having her own shop is very general as an idea. And, Faust, in particular, in the EQLA interview that I took part of like a week ago, she admits that, even though her show Bible is very, very descriptive out of nearly everything that the characters wanted and needed, there are some places where she just hit that far. I'm noticing that the showrunners are going with Faust's show Bible insofar as where the characters are ending up. They're just going a little faster than I think that Lauren intended, especially with Twilight's Alicorn transformation, but I don't feel that that's a bad thing. And to add on to that, I mean, it's not like this Canterlot Boutique is never going to show up again. It's a possibility, but I severely doubt that. I'm pretty sure there's going to be at least one more problem with this boutique that will finally cement it as perhaps the place that she moves into season.
Well, with the problem of possibly becoming a heretic, I'm not particularly concerned with whether we follow Faust's Bible or not. She did set a lot of the tones for the show, but I think it needs to go where the writers want it to go and the people who are associated with and directing the show want it to go. And if it doesn't follow her ideas, well, that's it doesn't bother me much.
I definitely agree. It's not necessarily that they have to follow the show Bible or what her intentions were. I just wanted to point out just that there's a really good compromise here. And that she did have ideas, and they were really good ideas that would have pushed the show farther into both watchability and the amount of episodes that you can get out of it. It's just that, to say that they're not following her Bible is wrong, but that they want to follow her Bible to a T is also wrong.
Like you guys said, I mean, I don't think it matters too terribly whether or not they follow the Bible to the letter. It's just nice to see the culmination of ideas that were talked about in earlier seasons. So, in terms of story, do we think that it moved along at a good pace? What do we think of its moral and resolution?
The pace was definitely ironclad. Like, we pretty much agree that while this episode is not like a Tyrek episode, it's BZ fights or anything along those lines, it's just very solid. There's a lot of very solid both slice of life and adventure episodes that are usually in the middle before you reach the finale. I don't really have any quips or anything about that. Pinkie is written perfectly because AKR is such an excellent writer, and I'm actually surprised that I shouldn't be surprised that she wrote Rarity this well.
I like the pacing a great deal. I thought that was one of the strong points of the show. They did bring up the conflict rather early, and I was very curious to see how they were going to resolve it. A little bit surprised at exactly how they did, which I would say was the mark of a good strength.
Speaking of that, we are also introduced to two new named characters in this episode. Sassy Saddles, who plays the role of the manager of Rarity's new boutique, and Fashion Plates, a reporter for a fashion magazine in Canterlot. What do we think of these two new characters?
Well, we're already seeing Fashion Plates' face all over the internet, at least on our side of the internet.
Well, why not? He is fabulous!
Yeah, they're both perfect characters. Sassy Saddle is the type of character that Rarity hasn't really dealt with yet. It's surprising because I hear a lot of people say that there's, they're recycling morals or they're recycling ideas for characters, and I just don't think that a lot of people understand what it's like to be a content creator. Like, I'm pretty sure if Scribbler was in here, she'd be, like, adding in so much more when it comes to, like, you know, doing commissions and making sure that your content is good and everything. Like, one of my friends was, like, commenting on the episode the entire time, and a funny thing that he said was, like, in this episode of My Little Pony, Rarity becomes a cog in the soulless corporate machine.
That is actually a good way to describe what happens in this episode. Illya, you have anything to add about them?
Well, the one with the glasses, I'm not good with names. The reporter, he didn't thrill me too much. It's nice to see a male pony jump in and do something. I was really thrilled with Sassy Saddles in a lot of ways. First, does anyone think, I mean, before I proceed with this, does anyone think anything about the fact that we have the Cadence pony design up again? That struck me as unusual.
It is nice to see more varied pony designs. I always enjoy seeing things that step away from the reuse of other models all the time. She actually kind of strikes me a bit as a combination of Cadence and Fleur de Lis.
Yeah, that's true. The other thing that got me about it, really caused me to do a double take, was the fact that, well, her name, Sassy Saddles, and she had a saddle as an accessory. I know we've probably seen that before, but not a lot. I think that's a very interesting thing.
I'm both confused with the name choice for her and the saddle as, like, her character. Because, I mean, there has to be a reason, right? There has to be a reason for her to both have the name Sassy just because of pony naming convention, and also for that saddle to be on her, like, whether it's a metaphor or whether it's, like, she likes it or she just, like, I didn't get either reason. So, like, now that I look into it, I'm kind of just confused.
The thing that I found most fascinating about her was a line near the end of the episode, because early on it was shown that she was very, very efficient at running a business, even if it wasn't run in the way that Rarity wanted it to be run. And Fashion Plates even points out that Sassy Saddles apparently commands a lot of respect with the fashion ponies of Canterlot. But near the end of the episode, when Rarity declares that she is going to shut down the boutique and is going to put up a going out of business sale, Sassy Saddles states that she can't be the manager of another failed boutique. And that's something that isn't followed up on at all, but it says a lot of interesting things about her character.
Well, it does bring up the question of if she was, I'm just beating a dead horse here, but if she was the participant in so many failed ventures, why is she so well thought of? That's conflicting to me.
Usually the reason behind people leaving their positions is it's not usually known by the public. I mean, the public probably knows that Sassy Saddles gets your dresses delivered. She gets you your item, like, you're happy and you go on with your life. Whereas, you know, everything behind the scenes is the stuff that, like, no one knows. Like, I've taken part.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, like, I've taken part in many jobs where it's like, we hear about, we hear about this all the time. You know, like, it'll be all over the news where, like, you think that something is just a really good company or really good this, that, or the other, and then you hear that the, like, former employees were just completely terribly managed or terribly treated or something like. So, like, I think it's an intricacy that they just didn't have time to address. Because, like, how do you explain that to kids? How do you explain that 10 out of the 11 people are happy, but because the 10 people are customers, it's kind of a different way to look at it as opposed to the one person that's an employee?
Yet another example of why the 22-minute format sort of holds this show back at times. Because the writers have a lot of stuff that they obviously want to say and explore, but they just can't, either because of the intended demographic or because of the time limit.
Well, the other problem is that, like, I'll let you go, Illya, while I formulate my thought.
I was just going to say, there were, in the 22-minute format, there were some things that left me wondering whether they just tossed it aside because of time or whether they dropped the ball. One of them was the big build-up for Twilight being the one to show the princess dress. And they unveiled it, and there she is. And there was this big build-up to Twilight wearing that dress. And then nobody said anything. There was no cheering. There was no nothing. They just moved on to the next segment. I thought that was sort of letting things go a bit.
Well, her participation and her wearing the dress did have the desired effect of getting everybody to order that dress. And I do like the touch of Twilight obviously being very uncomfortable while she's standing there being the center of attention. That's a detail that has been very synonymous with Twilight's character since she became a princess. And it's nice to see that she's still not quite over that.
I loved that. I loved it when she walked down the stairs with that smile glued to her face. That was so in character. It was a marvelous thing, I thought.
Yeah, definitely. And I finally formulated my thought. The thing is that when you're making something that's timed, or when you're making something that you know has to be like this particular time limit or something like that, like you got to know where to cut. I mean, we've heard of this before with Luna Eclipsed, when there was a cut scene where they like took Luna to Rarity's boutique, and she was like prettied up and turned into like a beautiful pink pony and like stuff like that. And you know, like maybe when it comes to the intricacies of like customer versus employee, and also like Twilight showing off the princess dress and just going with it, like, you know, there are some points where it's just like you got to toe the line between being ham-handed with your, so just trying to get your scene done and getting it over with and having what it does just happen.
Speaking of having scenes, the rest of the main six was in this episode. We pointed out that we liked Twilight's role in it, and Pinkie Pie, of course, was written beautifully, but Applejack, Rainbow Dash, and Fluttershy really did not need to be a part of this episode, in my opinion. I don't even think Fluttershy had a single line while she was on screen, and Applejack and Rainbow Dash were basically just there to point out that Sassy Saddles was sort of overstepping her bounds in terms of who should be running the boutique.
But they're so cute. I just like seeing.
Anything to add, Vicodin?
Well, I actually disagree, because I mean, think about the many group meetings that you have with your friends and everything, where just like one friend just kind of lurks and like throws in their 2 cents and then just goes back in. Like, there are some episodes where I will agree that the group dynamic was not necessary. They had a few of these in season 4. But for this particular episode, you know, she needed to have all of her friends there for support. Like, that's the first thing. The second thing is that, you know, Applejack and Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy are all people that, well, Rainbow Dash would never notice Sassy Saddles being, like, bitchy, because she, A, doesn't care, and B, she's not, like, taking part. Fluttershy obviously would not want to do anything besides be passive aggressive, and this isn't her problem. And then C, Applejack is just like enjoying the sights, like she's having a break from the farm.
You summed it up very well, almost exactly what I would like to have said if I'd thought of it. But I do want to add that, bringing it back to what I said before, that this is one of those really important episodes where one of the main six breaks out into something else. I think it was important to have the friends there. The friends were all there when Twilight turned into a princess, after all.
So, moving on to the next topic, new song this episode. What do we think of it? I really enjoyed it myself personally, especially that it went through so many different shifts as the episode went on. It started out peppy and upbeat, then it got more quiet and somber, and then it had a very grand reprise near the end of the episode. It was a great use of the song. And the name of it, by the way, was Rules of Rarity.
All of my favorite songs do this. All of my favorite songs, whether it be from Pinkie Pride, Magical Mystery Cure, or like etc., all of them have the reprise, the happy moment, and the sad moment, and all of them are excellent. This song was really, really excellent. It was just an improved Art of the Dress with a different type of context, but that's all you need. You don't like, anyone who thinks that, oh, this is just an improved Art of the Dress is really kind of missing the point.
Well, I couldn't disagree more. Usually when I listen to a song, I don't like it the first time, and then I'm going to like it a little bit more each time I listen to it. I struggled through this song at least 3 times and never got caught up in it. I don't feel like it's an improved Art of the Dress. I really liked Art of the Dress. I don't think this one's better, to be honest. Just my opinion.
I think as a standalone song, it works just fine. And I think it illustrates the struggle that Rarity is going through very well. She wants her customers to be happy, but at the same time, the fact that she has to keep making the same dress over and over and over again is just sapping her passion for what she does. And the song, both the start and the middle, where it starts to get very somber, is a great way of illustrating that as well.
Oh, don't get me wrong. The lyrics were perfectly tied into the story and moved everything along and were a wonderful accompaniment to it. But the music just didn't do anything for me.
A lot of the songs in the show are montage songs. Like the entirety of Magical Mystery Cure were montage songs, and that's my favorite episode of the show. It got its job done, and it was kind of faster than Art of the Dress. But when it came to just the lyrics, like every line ending with that perfect word that went straight into the next, like I was just I was impressed, number one. And number two, I just felt that, I don't know, there's something about lyrics and word choice in songs for me that just make me bump a song up like 5 million points if it's excellent.
I don't think we really touched on it when we talked about story. But what do we think of the moral of this episode?
What did we think the moral was? Because I just want to make sure that mine's as correct as you guys.
Well, there's no real correctness, because there have been episodes in the past where it's sort of difficult to pin down a single moral, or you can get multiple morals out of an episode. So I'm curious what you guys thought the moral was, and specifically how well you think those morals were represented.
I see two, actually. The first and more obvious moral is the fact that Soapy Saddles, or whatever her name is, I don't do names.
Sassy
What's her name,
Saddles?
please? Yeah, Sassy Saddles.
That was almost as good as Scribbler saying Twilight Ponyface during the review of
That's about the same thing.
Yes.
So anyway, she learned that she might not try to insert herself in front of her boss in these situations. The other one was, I think that Rarity learned a valuable lesson, that the idea she had have great merit and great value, and she shouldn't subjugate them to the whims of others. She should stand her ground, and I found that to be just wonderful. I loved that.
The friend that I keep referencing, his name is Aquaman. He does the follow-ups on EQD from time to time. And the other funny thing that he mentioned was, and I quote, "In this episode of this children's cartoon, Rarity learns that artistic integrity never pans out and life is pain."
What a sad friend you must have.
Boy, he is quite cynical. Boy.
He's just really funny. Like I'll sum this up. He really hates Rarity episodes, but he really liked this one because he was like, "Oh, okay, so Amy Keating Rogers is basically retconning Rarity Takes Manhattan because they don't bring up the kids wanting to, or the ponies wanting to do the dresses for them. They don't bring up anything that happens in that episode. Amy just writes this episode and goes with it." But for the moral, I feel that it's definitely what Rarity wanted. It's what she needed to have in order, Illya brought this up a while ago. It's what Rarity needed to learn if she wanted to, continue, both with making dresses and continuing with her craft, because she's obviously excellent at dresses. We all agree on that, but you can't just be good at something. You have to be able to market, you have to be able to promote yourself, you have to be able to manage a bunch of other people. There's a bunch of content creators, whether it be movie, craft, whatever, dress, that stumble on that hurdle. And everyone always thinks that, oh, if I can just be excellent at doing this one thing, then I'll be able to just make a bunch of money. It's no, you have to learn all of the intricacies that comes with marketing something to an audience.
Well, Rarity has been shown in the past to be a relatively savvy business pony, at least in certain aspects. But I just don't think that she was prepared for the type of marketing that you would have to do in a big city setting.
Is anyone else as impressed by the design of these dresses as I am? I know that we're supposed to think that Rarity designed them, but some artist in the show did design, and I'm always stunned by Rarity's creations. They amaze me. Pony dresses? I mean, that's an idiotic idea, but they look so beautiful, and I'm always amazed by them.
She does have a fantastic range in this episode. And yeah, I mean, if I go back and compare the dresses that she makes in seasons 4 and 5 to the ones from season 1 and 2, they were still good in 1 and 2, but the design of them has just steadily gotten more aesthetically pleasing as time has gone on.
They're gorgeous. I love them.
I didn't really notice a difference between the dresses. I mean, the princess dress didn't really look that impressive to me, but I don't know anything about dresses. But the thing that I wanted to bring up as far as Canterlot is concerned is that Goombasa brought up a really good point. The fact that Rarity, like, I'm positive that doing commission work for the ponies in Ponyville is way different from doing commission work in Canterlot. You know, Canterlot is the city of high elite. If you don't have your dress done by this time, you could be like persona non grata. You could be done like by that one customer. And the moment that you lose one customer, that's like really terrible. You know, like Canterlot is a city where there's a bunch of high elite, like I'm not going to say idiots, but like, can I say douchebag?
You're allowed to say douchebag, yes.
I would imagine Scribbler probably curses a lot on this show. Yeah, it's just Canterlot's full of just a bunch of high elite douchebags that feel that their work is like priority numero uno. So Rarity needing to make a shop in this particular area is, I feel, something that needs to be pointed out, because I'm pretty sure a lot of the people in Ponyville are like, oh yeah, just get it done by this time, you know what, whatever, where I'm pretty sure Canterlot, a bunch of the elite are coming in every day, wondering when their dress is done.
Now, I think it is time for us to move on to the most important aspect of every single episode of My Little Pony, the brand new background ponies that have been introduced, or the one-line wonders that we had at the end of this episode. And A.B. Keating-Rogers herself tweeted out that none of these ponies were named, and basically just gave the fandom a little gentle nudge towards saying, well, let's name them ourselves.
Do we have a list?
Hang on, I can probably find one.
While he's looking, I'd just like to say, I've fallen in love. Oh, that goth pony just thrilled me, and her dress was so beautiful on her.
Yeah, the twins, they are sisters, apparently.
Okay, I found the list. We have Nasal Pony, Goth Pony, Bright Pony, Architecture Pony, Fashionable Pony, and Pony number 11.
Do you have like the link? Can you put that in the chat?
I'm getting this right off of Amy Keating-Rogers' Twitter account.
Can we call the Fat Pony Tumblr?
Actually, there was somebody who pointed out, I can't remember where I saw it, but somebody pointed out that the large pony that walked in at the very end looked very similar to that really weird drawing that Rainbow Dash saw inside of the locker in Tanks for the Memories.
Okay, so this is probably the one quit with my episode, or with the episode, now that I kind of forgot what the other one was I don't understand the inclusion of the fat pony, apart from it being obvious, like, surprise attack. Just like, oh my god, here comes Fatty, and she's gonna go attack something. Whoa, like, why end the episode like that? I'm so confused.
I thought that was in horribly poor taste. It bothered me.
Yeah, like, I wouldn't say it's... Actually, yes. I mean, it's in poor taste, but not, like, completely insulting to, like, fat people or, like, anything along that. Like, maybe it is. I don't know. I'm not fat.
They laughed at her.
That's true.
No, they were laughing at the fact that the princess dress wasn't there anymore. It was sort of an in-joke between Saddles and Rarity at that point.
Nor would it have fit.
Yeah, it's like they would have to commission a new princess dress specifically for her. Take like an hour to get all of her measurements across all of the love handles.
Well, I don't really know. I think the fact that they didn't explicitly point out her weight, none of the characters did, was a bit more tactful than a show aimed at a young audience would be, with people who are larger.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't really think this has been a show since its inception where, like, someone's weight has been, like, a joke factor.
Have there even been any overweight ponies? I don't recall seeing any.
Yeah, I mean, there's pretty much all sorts, whether it be old mare, stallion, whatever it is. But it was definitely tactful, I think, because since AKR had that problem with Derpy, I'm pretty sure Amy looks over her scripts like 3 times now just to see. Well, it's not like she would know. I mean, Tumblr will latch on to anything, but it certainly helps to be just careful with what you do. It's really a shame Amy was assaulted by Twitter in that way.
Sorry, I just saw a tweet on Amy Keating Rogers' Twitter from Big Jim Miller that I thought was particularly funny, where he says, kick Sassy out, send her back to Trottingham where she belongs.
Trottingham.
I love these horse puns. I think Saddle Arabia is still my favorite horse pun.
And it seems we have another guest joining us. It's Itsannachloem, everybody.
Hi!
So, Anna, to bring you up to speed, we have talked about pretty much everything in this episode, so please, go crazy. Tell us what you thought about everything.
Well, for starters, you're obviously all wrong. Obviously, though, I have no idea what you were talking about. So, well, I really, really love this episode. Like, ridiculously love this episode. So, a lot of people have been saying it was meh, and I disagree. Because I, for one, did not see what was going to happen. I thought it could have gone many, many ways. And I don't know if that's just to do with my intelligence or if it's to do with, I don't know. I just really loved the episode. I liked the character of Sassy. I liked the song too. It was very Art of the Dress-esque continuation from that. My only criticism on the song is I wish it could have been more coverable because it's going to be hard for us brony singers to try and cover that. So much love for this episode, and you probably all disagree, but I really love it.
No, I think we pretty much came to a consensus that we really liked this episode, actually.
Good.
Yeah, we agreed that while it doesn't have like the DBC fights or anything of a Tyrek episode, which I feel a lot of people are gonna like hold to every episode until the end of the show, which is a shame. It's very strong. The story structure is very strong. The villain's very strong. The morals and everything are very strong, and just the entire, with the whole Nightmare Moon and all of that, it's like there's a lot of fridge logic, I feel, if anyone knows what that TV trope is.
Can you really call Sassy a villain? An antagonist at best, maybe, but...
Maybe.
She's very, I don't know, almost relatable in the way that she's very businesslike. It's the way that most people are nowadays. I mean, you got to agree with that. They have a goal in mind. It doesn't necessarily mean about whether you're creative about it. It's like, get this done.
I think it's important to understand that her intentions were good. And in the beginning, before the reveal, we did not realize that. We thought she might just be a selfish person trying to insert herself. But at the end, we found out that she was simply misdirecting herself.
I like the pins, too. That was a nice touch.
Her pattern, as she calls it, yes.
I also like the fact that there was a lot of like the visual elements where, when Rarity was standing and then she'd move the things over her like Rarity did. She was basically doing the same thing that, if you think back to the Suited for Success episode when she's putting on that whole presentation, I really like that. It brought me back to that, and it was like, but Rarity isn't doing this. She's the one kind of being led along, and it showed her journey and progression. It's so artistic, jeez. No, I really enjoyed it. So all of that.
This was one thing that we didn't touch upon yet, was the copious amounts of new facial expressions in this episode, most of them belonging to Fashion Plates, of course. One of my favorite moments was when Fashion Plates is talking to Rarity, and he mentions that he came over as soon as he heard that Sassy Saddles was the one managing the boutique. You can see Rarity sort of drop her smile a little bit and look down and flick her eyes near the floor as she's sort of considering what he just said.
That is true. I liked that. One thing that with Sassy, though, that made me think he wasn't probably looking because it was going to be good. He was probably just there to see if it was going to fail. Because what it seems like, what she said, she was like, "Oh, I can't see another one fail." So because her name is tied to it, the press are going to come after it. Like, whoa, what's going on here? That's my opinion.
Anna, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
I mean, I'd like to get the female perspective on this.
I
mentioned
represent
earlier,
British females.
You must represent them all.
Yes.
It is your duty. But I had asked earlier about the dresses. I absolutely loved the dresses in this episode, and I was wondering what you thought about them.
These dresses were so beautiful. The celestial one, the lunar one, even the rain in stain. Don't call it the princess dress. Don't you dare call it the princess dress, because it's not the princess dress. I wasn't a big fan of those little, like, almost, those wings that, like, all the little girls kind of, like, put on. But, Hasbro. I wasn't a fan of the wings on that, but the dress was so pretty, and I even liked the one that was unfinished, and I just love them all. And did you guys talk about, this is off topic, did you guys talk about the pony at the end?
The big pony?
The big
Yeah,
blue
we
one.
kind of did. We called her Tumblr.
Did you have something to add about her?
I think her voice acting was sublime.
Well, that's true.
She was really a sublime character. I want to see more of her, and I kind of like.
You did, don't you realize?
I want to see more of her, and I do like also think that I think it's really great that they're branching out into more different designs of ponies, even though that pony was kind of horrific. But, we've seen it like with like Trenderhoof and now this one, and I'm just thinking, yeah, like even Princess Cadence looks a bit different, and that of course Sassy Saddle, she was in the episode. Just a whole bunch of them, they're all looking different, and it's really interesting.
There's horrible people, so why not horrible ponies? I mean, if there was a pony version of Walmart, I'm pretty sure they'd just be full of that particular pony. Can we just call her Tumblr? Let's call her Tumblr.
She looked more like TLC, really. But
oh god.
Toddlers and tiaras,
Yeah, that. Oh my god. I'm still sad that exists. Anna, you've made me sad.
What did you say about the song?
I liked it. Vicodin liked it. Illya did not like it.
I didn't say that.
He said it wasn't a better art of the dress.
The song did sound like the art of the dress quite a bit. Well, I like the fact that it worked in 3 different reprises, but I was saying it's hard to cover, and it makes it a bit less memorable and stand just because it always keeps coming back. So it's kind of a more like musical theatre in that kind of sense, where the song keeps repeating and then there's a different message time, which I really like in that setting. But past that setting, yeah, it can only work in that episode. That's what I mean.
The art of the dress, was that the Stephen Sondheim song?
Yes.
The one that they... Yes. So it had theatrical aspects to it.
Yes. Art of the Dress is a loosely based parody version, kind of Putting It Together by Stephen Sondheim.
The most important thing to me, probably trivial to everyone else, but there have only been a couple of ponies over the history of the show that I have fallen in head over heels in love with. One was Cloud Chaser from that thing with the Twilight Dash pony thing. What was that episode where he went to the Wonderbolts
Wonderbolt
and
Academy.
The Academy? Yeah, that's the one. Cloud Chaser stole my heart. And in this one, that little goth pony, I hope someone gives her a name and draws copious pictures of her, because she has taken my heart now.
Call her Green Day or 3 Days Grace or any other teen band.
Most people are just calling her Raven right now.
Oh, well, we never went back to the idea of what we thought about the other 3 ponies. Because, like, Pinkie, Applejack, and Fluttershy, all 3 of them don't really have something that they're striving for. So Rainbow Dash is going to the Wonderbolt Academy. Rarity is going to the Canterlot Boutique. Twilight's Itsannachloem. Like, A, is there another, like, character arc that we feel for Twilight? And then B, do we feel that there's a character arc for either of the other 3 that don't really have an end-all, be-all premise for, like, their finale? do we feel that like them lacking one is a good thing? Because I do. Because I feel like Twilight reached her character arc, and then she started a new one, and we're just kind of waiting for that to play out.
I don't think that it's a bad thing if some of the ponies in the group don't really have super grand ambitions down the line. And looking at Fluttershy, Pinkie Pie, and Applejack, they seem relatively content with life as it is now. I mean, Pinkie Pie is quite content with being a party planner and a baker in Ponyville. Applejack has her family farm, which of course is probably going to be her life for quite a while. And Fluttershy is just Fluttershy. Again, she's very content to just be taking care of animals in Ponyville.
Well, let's imagine what they might do. Okay, Applejack perhaps could start some huge ranch and become extremely wealthy. Fluttershy could open a zoo, perhaps. And Pinkie Pie could break the fourth wall and end up in our world.
I'm fine with that last part.
I kind of want Applejack to have a really successful country music singing career. I don't know what Pinkie Pie probably start like a Chuck E. Cheese chain or something. Do you think that Rarity is going to branch out even more in her boutiques? Or do you think that I think this could maybe be the beginning of her fashion career. I think it can go more.
I think that's a bit irrelevant. I think that could happen, but there'd be no reason for the show to show it to us.
She already got on the cover of Cosmere magazine. I think she's pretty much hit the top already.
I don't think it'll be an episode, but I'm pretty sure that there will be a sneaking line in like the next season or the season after, or perhaps the movie where Rarity says she sets one up in like Manhattan with what's her name, Coco Pamel, or another city.
Yeah, bring Coco Pamel back.
And it looks like we have reached the end of our discussion on Canterlot Boutique. I want to thank you all for taking a listen into our discussion, and thank my panelists for having such an engaging conversation with me. I was joined this week with ABagofVicodin.
Hello.
Illya Leonov.
Have a sane evening.
And Itsannachloem.
Ta-ta, darlings.
And I was your moderator, Goombasa, and we will see you again next week for Rarity Investigates. Until then, bye everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.